Morning light spilled gently into the room, touching the edges of Ethan and Amara's wedding photos that still lay scattered across the dresser. Their first sunrise as a husband and wife felt soft, peaceful, almost sacred. A knock at the door broke the stillness. Not loud, just firm enough to feel unusual. Ethan, still half asleep, opened the door. A courier stood in the hallway, holding a sealed, cream-colored envelope stamped with the crest Ethan hadn't seen in years. The Lawson family emblem, the same one he thought had died with his parents. He frowned. Who sent this? The courier only bowed and left without a word. Ethan shut the door slowly, the weight of the envelope settling into his chest like a stone. Amara looked up from the bed, her eyes soft with love and curiosity. What is it? Ethan didn't answer immediately. He stared at the crest. The gold ink still bright, still alive. The same crest used for official Lawson correspondence. The same crest the board claimed was destroyed after the tragic accident years ago. His hands trembled slightly as he slipped his finger beneath the seal. Inside was a single page, handwritten. In his father's handwriting, Ethan's breath caught. No, it couldn't be. His father was dead, his mother too, or so he had been told. Amara rose from the bed, sensing the shift in him. Ethan! What's wrong? He stared at the familiar loops and curves of the script he'd memorized as a child. His father's voice echoed inside the ink. My son, if this letter reaches you, it means the board has hidden the truth from you for far longer than I ever wanted. I am alive, and there are things you must know. Ethan's heart slammed against his ribs. Alive? His father? Alive? The room tilted. The walls tightened. Every memory of the announcement, the board's solemn speech, the forced closures, the documents, the articles, suddenly felt manipulated, rehearsed. He looked at Amara, his voice thin. They lied to me. Amara stepped closer, a hand on his shaking arm. Who lied to you? Ethan swallowed hard. My father is alive. A soft wind brushed the curtains, carrying the scent of roses from the garden. The same garden his parents had once guarded with pride, the same garden Amara grew up beside. The letter slipped slightly from his hand as the truth ripped apart everything he thought he knew. And beneath the first page, another slip of paper fell out. A photograph, old, faded, and painfully familiar. It was a picture of a young woman smiling in the Lawson garden, her hand gently holding a single rose. A woman with Amara's eyes, Amara's smile, Amara's face. The room fell silent. Ethan whispered, almost breathless, No, this is impossible. The photograph trembled in Ethan's hand. The resemblance was uncanny, haunting, almost unnatural. Amara stared at the image, confusion tightening her features. Ethan, that woman, she looks like you, he whispered, or the shadow of you. He turned the photo over. 4 words were written in delicate cursive ink. For the love I lost. The room chilled. The sunlight no longer felt warm. It felt like a spotlight on a truth too heavy to hold. Amara swallowed hard. My mother worked for your family, but I've never seen this photo before. Ethan searched her eyes. Did she ever tell you anything about her past? Anything at all about the Lawsons? Amara slowly shook her head. She never talked about it. Whenever I asked, she'd say the past was buried for a reason. She stared at the photograph again. A tear slid down her cheek. Ethan, what does this mean? He didn't have an answer, but the weight of the letter, the crest, the handwriting, all of it pointed to one truth. The past wasn't buried, it was resurfacing. and he had chosen this moment, their first morning as husband and wife, to rise again. He unfolded the rest of the letter. His father's voice poured out like a ghost, refusing to stay silent. There are secrets the board forced me to hide, secrets that involve your mother and her past with the gardener's daughter. If you are reading this, come to the old Lawson estate. Come alone. Amara's breath caught. Alone? Ethan folded the letter carefully. I'm not leaving you behind. She touched his hand. You're not. But if your father asked for you alone, there must be a reason. Maybe he's in danger. Ethan's jaw tightened. They told me he was dead. Amara stepped closer. And now he is reaching for you after all these years. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The air felt heavy, like the world was holding its breath. Ethan looked out the window toward the horizon. The day felt split in half, love on one side, fear on the other. I have to go, he finally murmured. Amara nodded, her fingers tightening around his. Then you go, and I'll be here when you get back. He cupped her face gently. You're my home, Amara. No secret is ever going to change that. She smiled, though her eyes glistened. I know, but be careful. He kissed her softly, lingering as though trying to memorize the shape of her breath. And when he pulled away, a part of the room felt empty. The sky shifted from gold to grey as Ethan drove. The city faded behind him, replaced by long stretches of quiet road and whispering trees. Every mile brought memories, his childhood, his parents' strict rules, his father's coldness, his mother's warmth, the carefully constructed life he had tried to escape, and now the possibility that none of it was as he believed. He glanced at the photograph again. The young woman's smile seemed frozen mid-secret. It felt wrong. It felt right. It felt like the universe folding in on itself. When Ethan finally reached the old Lawson estate, a shiver ran through him. The gates stood tall, rusted, but grand, like guardians that had been waiting for this moment. He climbed out of the car slowly, the letter in his hand. The world around him felt ancient, too still, too silent. As he pushed the gate open, the metal groaned as though protesting the intrusion. The garden was overgrown, wild roses twisting like memories, refusing to be forgotten. The air smelled of earth, rain, and old ghosts. Ethan stepped through the archway of vines and froze. There, sitting on a stone bench, was a man. His posture was frail, his hair streaked with grey, his face thinner, carved by time and grief, but Ethan would know him anywhere. His father, alive. For a long moment, neither moved. The distance between them felt wider than the garden itself. Then the man lifted his head. Ethan, he whispered, the voice Ethan had convinced himself he'd never hear again. Something inside him cracked open. You're alive, Ethan said, breathless. His father closed his eyes as though the words hurt. I've been alive, but not living. Ethan stepped forward. Why? Why did they tell me you were dead? His father swallowed hard. Because I let them. Ethan's chest tightened. You let them destroy me. You let them take everything. His father's eyes glistened. It was the only way to protect you from the truth. Ethan felt anger, heartbreak, confusion twisting inside him. What truth? His father gestured weakly to the garden around them. To her, to your mother, to the life you were never meant to know. Ethan stiffened. My mother, what does she have to do with? His father lifted a trembling hand. There are things about the gardener's daughter, things we hid, things that built this family and broke it. Ethan's heartbeat thundered in his ears. Tell me. His father's voice dropped. It began with a love story, one that was forbidden, one that looks far too much like yours. And then Ethan's father told him everything: the secret romance, the betrayal, the shame the boy tried to bury, the disappearance of a woman who resembled Amara far too closely, the woman in the photograph, her mother. And as the sun began to set behind the estate, Ethan realized he was not just fighting for love, he was fighting a repeating pattern, a story that began decades ago, a story trying to rewrite itself through him. And the most terrifying part, he wasn't sure how it was supposed to end. Ethan stood frozen, the world around him blurring into shadows. His father leaned back against the stone bench, breath shallow, as though every sentence carried the weight of decades. It began before you were born, his father murmured, before the board controlled the family, before the secrets drowned us. Ethan's jaw tightened. What does this have to do with Amara's mother? His father closed his eyes. She was the first woman I ever loved. The words hit like lightning. Ethan stepped back, the ground shifting beneath him. My mother? No. His father shook his head. Not your mother, her mother. The garden rustled softly, as if reacting to the truth newly spoken. We were young, reckless, too blind to see how cruel the world could be. Ethan felt something dark coil in his chest. And the board stopped you? They destroyed us, his father whispered. They threatened her family, accused her of trying to trap a Lawson heir. They forced her out, and they made sure the world believed she disappeared on her own. Ethan felt sick. Amara never knew, he said quietly. Her mother died, keeping that secret. His father nodded slowly. She did it to protect her child and to protect you from this legacy. Ethan's hands curled into fists. All my life, everything has been a lie. His father's eyes softened. Not your love for her. That is the only truth in this cursed legacy. Ethan's voice hardened. So the board faked your death too? His father gave a faint, bitter smile. With my permission, I was too sick to fight them, too tired, and I believed hiding would keep you free from their control. Ethan stared down at him. Instead, it broke everything. I know, his father whispered. And that is why I wrote the letter. Why I called you here. Because you must finish the battle I was too weak to fight. Ethan felt something fierce awaken inside him. Anger sharpened by purpose. What do they want now? His father looked towards the mansion window, where the curtains fluttered like watchful eyes. They want your marriage annulled. They want the past erased. They want the Lawson name untouched by scandal. He turned back to Ethan. But if you stand firm, they cannot break what you and Amara have. The sky above the garden dimmed as clouds gathered, deepening the tension. Ethan's voice dropped low. I need to tell Amara. She deserves the truth. His father nodded. And she deserves to know this. He reached into his coat and pulled out a second envelope. This was meant for her, from her mother. Ethan froze. For Amara? How long have you had this? His father looked ashamed. Too long. He pressed the envelope into Ethan's hand. The moment you read it, everything will shift. Your love will either break under the weight or rise above the past. Ethan swallowed hard, staring at the envelope, its seal barely holding after years of silence. What's inside? He whispered. His father shook his head. That is for her eyes, not mine, not yours. The wind stirred, carrying the scent of roses mixed with something older, something buried. You must go, his father whispered. They will come when they realize I've contacted you. Ethan hesitated. Will I see you again? His father looked up at him, the regret of a lifetime filling his eyes. One day, if fate allows it. But for now, protect your wife. Protect the love I lost. Ethan turned, heart pounding, and walked toward his car, the envelope burning with truth in his hand. He didn't look back, because if he did, he feared he'd never be able to live again. At home, Amara sat curled on the couch, the wedding bouquet resting beside her. She had tried to stay calm, but the hours had stretched too long. When Ethan finally entered, she jumped to her feet. "Ethan!" She rushed to him, arms wrapping tight around his waist. He held her close, breathing her in, the one constant in a world full of lies. "What happened?" she whispered against his chest. He stepped back gently, taking her hands. "Amara, I found him, my father." Her eyes widened, disbelief turning into shock. "But it is alive," Ethan said softly. "And there's more." He held out the envelope. "This is for you, from your mother." Amara's breath trembled. Her fingers hovered over the aged paper, afraid to touch it. "From my mother?" Her voice broke. Ethan nodded. "Your mother and my father. They had a past. A deep one." Tears pooled in her eyes. "So we were always part of this story, even before we were born." Ethan cupped her cheek. "Yes, but that doesn't mean we're trapped by it. We can break it." She looked down at the envelope again. "I want to open it," she whispered, "but I'm afraid of what I'll find." Ethan took her hand. "I'll read it with you." Amara slowly broke the seal. A single dried rose petal fell out, landing softly in her palm. She stared at it as though it carried the weight of time. The letter inside was written in delicate, familiar handwriting, the same script she had last seen on old recipes and birthday notes. Her mother's voice blossomed from the page. "My precious Amara, if you are reading this, I did not live long enough to tell you the truth myself. I loved someone I was never allowed to love, and because of that, we were torn apart. Do not let the past destroy your happiness. Choose love. Fight for it. Let it bloom where ours was cut down." Amara pressed the letter to her chest. Tears streamed down her face. "She knew," she whispered. "She knew this day would come." Ethan pulled her into his arms as her sobs filled the room. But as he held her, he felt something else. A chill. A sense that the past wasn't done with them. Not yet. Outside, clouds gathered. Wind swept through the garden, bending the roses violently. The sky darkened, heavy with coming rain. Ethan looked toward the window. "They know," he murmured. "The board knows my father contacted me." Amara wiped her tears. "What do we do?" Ethan took her hand. "We stand together, exactly as they tried to stop all those years ago." Thunder rumbled in the distance. The house creaked. The roses outside swayed like warning hands. And as lightning flashed across the sky, a figure stood at the edge of the garden watching. The past had returned. And this time, it wasn't living quietly. And so, the storm gathered around Ethan and Amara's new home, carrying with it the weight of secrets that had slept for decades. The past was no longer whispering, it was knocking, and in the shadows of the garden, someone was already watching. The truth had begun to unfold. Ethan's father alive, Amara's mother's lost story returned, the board preparing its next move, and a love strong enough to challenge the legacy that tried to tear them apart. But what stands before them now is bigger than a family feud, bigger than old sins, bigger than the pain they inherited, because destiny, once awakened, does not return to sleep. My dear listeners, if you felt every heartbeat in this chapter, if you were drawn in by the secrets, the letters, the revelations, and the lovers fighting to hold on to each other, then don't let this be the end of your journey. Make sure you like this video to show your support for Ethan and Amara's love. Share it with someone who believes in destiny. And comment below. What do you think the figure in the garden wants? Do you believe the past is trying to warn them or destroy them? Most importantly, hit subscribe and turn on your notifications because part 3 is coming. And trust me, the garden has not revealed its deepest secret yet. Until then, thank you for listening. And remember, true love may bend, but it never breaks.